Hey guys, welcome to Style with Trish. This is an exclusive interview with my beautiful guest, none other than Tammy Hammonds, who's hanging out with us, as well as my girl, my boo, Karen Young. And we are here to talk about, educate, and really show our love to Denise. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what we're talking about. But Tammy, if you would tell us who Denise was.
How do I describe Mama? To sum her up, she was so larger than life, but she was such a light. She was such a light, and the matriarch of our family, a friend, an aunt, just an all around girl's girl, the life of the party. Yes. Yeah.
What would you add, Karen?
That she was, the older sister to several brothers.
Okay.
She was laughter, a ball of laughter. She was spunky, sassy.
Yes.
Like she.
You.
Yes.
Your
yes.
face.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what I loved about her, what we connected with early on is our mothers had all girls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And your mom had 3 girls. My mom had 4 girls. But just the tightness and the realness of raising all girls.
Yeah.
And what she instilled, she was real raw with y'all, as far as educating.
Yeah.
Expound on that a little bit.
Oh my God.
And the importance of it.
It's so funny when I became an adult and I thought back on like certain times in our teenage years and stuff, like our mother, we never bought our own pads for our menstrual cycle. Never. She always bought them for you. You always had to go to her and get them. And then you found out later that was just her taking care, keeping an eye out for things, making sure, Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah. She was smart like that.
Yeah.
She was so smart like that. She had very, very candid conversations with us about being girls, how we should take care of ourselves, what that looked like. You know what I'm saying? And really embodied that with how she took care of herself. So you had the example and you had her wisdom at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. She's a beautiful person. I enjoyed being around her because she was so vibrant to me. And probably because I knew a little bit of the, backstory before meeting her. She just was it was like she was not a stranger. It was like she's known me all her life. We talk about church, we talk about fashion, talk about family. And I remember sharing one thing with her one time about church. I never told y'all. But I was telling her that we were struggling on membership. Where did not want to be where we were any longer. And she didn't say a whole lot. She just patted me on my knee. She said, just be patient. Just be patient. Yeah. And she was very encouraging like that. And so I wanted to share her story because she has a unique story. We were talking before off air about how this whole story should be a novel, a movie, but most of all, educational to us. Kay, if you or Karen, I call her Kay. Well, we all call her. I'm gonna call you Kay.
Call me Kay.
That's fine.
Kay on here, share with us some of, I want to say back, was it 2018 when she started showing signs of illness. Can you go back that far for us?
Yeah. So she actually found a lump in her breast in like the end of 2017.
End of 2017.
And we were going on a family vacation actually when she was notified a month or so before that it was breast cancer. And we were going on a family vacation, all the grandkids, everybody. It was her sister, her nieces, like it was a whole family. And we can tell on vacation that something was on her mind because she was really distant.
Okay.
And she kind of laid around a lot and was kind of silent. And Mama was never silent.
Never.
But one thing, she loved breakfast. So every morning she got up and cooked breakfast on vacations.
Yeah.
So she was still getting up cooking breakfast, but she wasn't really interacting with us. And so when we got back, did she tell us there or when?
She told us when we got back home.
When we got back
she called
home.
us all over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
After she got confirmation.
Yeah. And so then, we knew that she was about to battle breast cancer and that she was going to start chemotherapy, she opted to have a lumpectomy instead of a mastectomy. And so...
and what is that? What's the difference between those two?
Well, the mastectomy is when they remove your breast.
Okay.
The lumpectomy when they just focus on the lump.
Okay.
And so her treatment plan was to, focus on shrinking the lump and then removing it. And so that's the steps she took. So she went through that process, and it was a journey. She was real ill sometimes, not real ill, but like after her treatments, every now and then she would be a little down
from the treatment.
Yes, from the treatments and things. It kind of it changed her body. The radiation part is real harsh on the tissue, so that was the worst part for her. The radiation. She lost her hair, of course. Tammy had to give her a nice, beautiful haircut.
Yeah,
I cut mine as well, just in solidarity.
Yeah. And she was pretty no matter what.
Yeah.
And so during that battle, we went through that, 2017, all the way to like the beginning of 2019. She went into remission. They said, the breast cancer had cleared up. We rung the bell. We were excited. We were moving on to the next journey. So,
and did you have anything that you wanted to share?
Something? Oh, no. Karen is on track.
Yeah.
Kay's on track.
And so it was breast cancer. And so she went through that. I remember we did the breast walk in honor of her as well. That was fun.
Yeah. Had a good time.
And she was really, it was like...
Yeah. Like, I beat this.
Yes.
Let's celebrate.
Yes.
Typical mama, you know? And everybody showed up. Came in.
Did.
Cousins came in. That was Stride.
That was the Susan G. Coleman.
Oh, that was Susan G. Coleman. Okay. Yeah. So everybody in the family was excited. They came in from South Carolina. All of our friends and family that live here in the city came out and supported. It was a big celebration. So she was excited. She was a warrior.
Yes. Absolutely. And so she went into remission. And how long was she in remission before? It wasn't long.
It was
like a year.
So
22.
She started having problems breathing. It started there. She started to, couldn't walk really far without
being out of breath.
Being able to catch her breath. And so it kind of started with lung issues. We thought, she went to several doctors. They said it was probably something from the chemo or, her body just hadn't really totally healed from the chemo. So, but that started to progress, and Mama liked to travel. And so she had trips planned, and she had a trip planned to Martha's Vineyard for the summer because her niece has some real close connections with like Shaq. And, she always wanted to go to Martha's Vineyard because she associated that with the Obamas. And she loved them. And so this was
Kennedys.
And the Kennedys.
She had to go see where JFK plane went down, all of that stuff.
Wow.
But she was feeling really under the weather for that vacation. Sick. And that was in 2021.
Yeah. So she rang the bell 2019, February. Valentine's Day.
Yes.
2019, she rang the bell. She started to have issues summer.
That summer?
No. Summer of 21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Spring to summer of 21.
When it got really bad.
Bad, yeah.
Now, was she having to still go back to the doctor in those interims?
Yeah.
Like from the time she rang the bell up until?
Yeah.
Okay.
Routine things and things that would just come up.
Okay.
Yeah. She stayed at the doctor. You know, if Mama didn't, like if she had a sore, she's going to go to a doctor. What's this?
Okay.
She battled shingles. Was that after?
Yeah, that was after chemo and everything.
Yeah,
after she went in remission, she had a bout with shingles. It was very painful for her.
Yeah.
So she stayed at the doctor. I mean, she went through all her yearly checkups. She had her thyroid.
Yeah.
She had thyroid problems. That ran in the family.
She had? Oh, so that was
hereditary.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she, constantly stayed at the doctor. I mean, her medical records is
extensive.
Yes. And so she was, and then she was more focused on the breathing thing because that was a big part. Why can't I breathe?
Yeah. Why am I so winded? Even at work.
Yeah.
She...
Oh, she was still working?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she went back to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
She worked up until she couldn't anymore in 20 when it got really bad in 2021.
Yeah.
In
summer.
September.
Yeah, because we were in Florida. with the kids when Cammie had to come. Yeah, that was like June, July. It started summer of 21, and it just got progressively worse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And that's when they found water, fluid on her lungs.
Wow.
Yep. And when they tested the fluid, they said it had cancer cells in it. Yep.
So then that's when you all was like, okay, it's back.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so now this time around, how was that the second bout with cancer? Now they found the fluid where?
In her lungs.
In her lungs. Okay.
Yeah, she had to have fluid removed from her lungs because she couldn't breathe.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got
and so when they removed the fluid, they tested the fluid and found that it had cancer cells in it. And then at that point, they diagnosed her with metastatic breast cancer.
Breast cancer.
Yeah,
Okay.
because those cells matched the previous breast cancer cells. So now it's moved to her lungs.
Okay. So now what's the difference between the first diagnosis to when it returns? What's the difference in her condition?
Oh, it was a stark difference. Like it didn't even, like cancer is doing all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
What was some of her anguish? Like what was it?
The weight loss.
The weight
So it was
loss,
a lot of
extreme weight
She
loss.
drastically lost weight, like within a month or so. Like she lost 10 pounds and she lost her appetite. She couldn't eat anything.
The fatigue.
Yeah, she was so weak and
she was lethargic a lot. She was not herself. You know, you just gave, recounted like how you knew her to be.
Yeah.
She was the polar opposite of how you were accustomed. Any of us was accustomed to her functioning and being like.
But she kept
she was
moving forward and we had faith that, another bout with cancer, we beat it the first time, we'll beat it this time.
Right.
But the weakness and the how she went down this time was not like the first time. We knew
it was faster.
Yeah, we knew this was something different.
Okay.
This was going to be worse.
And so is that what led you guys to say, okay, well, maybe it isn't, maybe it's something a little deeper here? Because I know at one point you guys were seeking out different professional opinions. So what caused you to say, wait a minute, this might not be, it might be the same thing, but we may not have to be able to go the same route that we went the first time. When did you see or notice it was a difference?
Yeah.
Well, when the doctors wasn't giving us the answers that we wanted, her current oncologist, they kept telling, we're saying this doesn't look like cancer because she is so weak and sometimes she don't even know where she is. She's losing her memory, and she's not eating and this drastic weight loss and she keeps getting feverish and something is different. And they would tell us it's the sickness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she's had cancer before, and they're like, well, this is metastatic. Do you something she's going to have to live with? And, so we didn't like the answers they were giving us. So we said, let's second opinion. Let's find out if there's something else, or maybe the treatments they're giving her are not working or a little harsh. So we went to the Cancer Treatment Center of America to get a second opinion.
Okay. Now, how does that work? Is that an actual doctors, a hospital?
Yes, it's a whole facility on the south side. Yes,
in Noonan.
Oh, okay.
So we scheduled an appointment with them. They come in, and I thought that they would do a full workup of their own, but really they just got her medical records from her doctor and kind of.
But they took blood and everything. I was in.
Yes, so Tammy took her the first day because it was a weekend thing.
Yeah,
like
it was a whole process. So I started it and Kay finished it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean I thought they were going to do a more in-depth finding than just consulting with her medical records. I thought they were going to take their, draw their own blood and compare and,
Yeah.
But they ended up telling Kay that they wouldn't do anything different, maybe just
less harsh treatment. Her current oncologist had her on 2 doses of chemo, and they said that was kind of strong to them, and they would, lower the dosage. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But they would give her the same type of chemo.
Okay.
Instead of changing that, they would just lessen the dosage because apparently she couldn't handle it. And they did say she had fluid on her lungs.
Mm-hmm.
They can see that her lungs had like a spider web on it. And that was the cancer kind of expanding over her lungs. It looked like a spider web to them. And so he said, you know, the chemo treatments would help with that. And so Mom, she loved her oncologist. She loved Dr. Mendenberg and didn't want to change.
She really believed in him.
She didn't want to leave.
No.
So
because we were willing to drive her to Noonan for treatment.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, we made that clear to her, like, this is important to us. Don't you worry. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You just focus on getting better. If we need to drive you to Noonan, but when they said they wouldn't do anything different, she was like, there's no need in y'all, you know,
going out your way
to bring me
over here.
And
just
able to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
So by this time, it's what, the second or third, the second opinion?
This is the second opinion.
Yeah, second opinion.
Okay, so there's an interim in there where I guess she continues in the treatment that they suggest, the second opinion as well as her own doctor suggest. What made you go for a third opinion at that point?
The fluid kept building up on her lungs and she couldn't breathe. And again, we didn't like the answers from her oncologist. Why she liked this, every time she would have a chemo treatment, her white blood count would drop, totally disappear. And so their answer was to give her shots to build her white blood count up.
Okay.
And so that's what they would do. Give her a couple shots to build up her white blood cells. And we'll give her another round of chemo. Once her white blood count comes back up, no matter how weak she is, no matter how sick she is, we can't stop these chemo treatments.
Right.
Okay.
And we didn't like that.
Okay.
So Tammy's friend, Kay, she's a nurse, and my mom, she's like a daughter. And my mom trusted her opinions. And so Kay suggested that she go see one of her oncologist friends at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
In Athens.
Okay.
And so she scheduled that appointment for us. So we drove to Athens and sat down with the doctor there. He reviewed her medical records, didn't do his own workup. They did check for fluid in her lungs and said that it was a lot of fluid. She needed to get it drained again. But he basically said the same thing because he was actually a colleague of her
current oncologist.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So they were out of similar practices or something, I guess. And so she again opted, well, if you wouldn't do anything different, then I might as well stay where I am.
Exactly. But she was never really able to tolerate chemo.
No.
Even the first
second time around.
The second time.
The second time around. She was not, she could never really tolerate it, especially if she didn't have them shots.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then that didn't even,
That is amazing. And so then we end up at Emory, correct?
That's further down the
further down the line.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we go next from there?
So she continues with her treatments, her chemo treatments with her current oncologist. And so after so many treatments that she was able to make it through in December of 2021, they want to do more scans, CT scan, MRI, bone scans to see if the cancer had cleared up or is still spreading other places, to see where we were with the cancer after so many chemo treatments. Well, they did the scans in December. We went back for the results and they tell us, well, the cancer's pretty much cleared up around her lungs.
Great news, right?
Right. We're excited. You know, I'm sitting, I'm recording because we recorded every doctor's visit.
That's good. That's
so
smart.
that, you know, we could communicate with each other because I couldn't remember everything. Tammy couldn't remember. So we shared the communication. So pretty much cleared up. And I'm saying in the video, well, why is she like this? If the cancer is pretty much cleared up, why can't she remember where she is? Why can't she walk? Why am I pushing her in this wheelchair? My mama can't walk. You know, it doesn't look like it's cleared up. Something else. What could something else be going on? It was the same answer. It's the disease. And which wasn't, I couldn't understand that because you said the disease is pretty much cleared up.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to the beginning of January, they kept her on the path of continuing the chemo treatments because now it's metastatic in their eyes. And so with metastatic, you have to take some form of chemo the rest of your life.
Right.
You have to treat it.
Right.
And so again, she can't handle it. Her white blood counts are dropping, shots fever. We're at the emergency room saying, you know, what's wrong with her. And so we eventually ended up taking her from her home because her husband wasn't taking care of her. We work, you know, family life. And so she had a husband at home. And we trusted that he would give her the care she needed. But when we would go visit,
it wasn't.
She didn't look cared for. And so we decided to take her out the home and move her in with me. I was working from home. I could, you know, be with her around the clock. And so she came to live with me January 8th. I remember that weekend. Because my son, Corey, was going off to the military.
She was with me for about 10 days until Corey left to go to the Navy. And Miles was going to school.
So I had an extra bedroom.
She had an extra bedroom. And she worked remote. So it was more ideal for Mom to be at Kay's house.
And so she was there January, and then February, like the first weekend, Super Bowl weekend.
Super Bowl weekend.
In February.
That's how I always remember it. Was the Saturday before the Super Bowl.
She woke up. I wake up in the middle of the night to check on her because she was weak. She was actually using the bathroom on herself. At this point, she could not hold her bowels. Didn't look like cancer to me. She, you know,
it didn't feel like
cancer.
No.
You know, she could barely eat, could barely walk. She, you know, was lethargic most of the time. She stared off into space. And so I would check on her in the middle of the night because I know she don't use the bathroom, so I got to change her. And so I went in like 5 o'clock in the morning, and she was staring into space, couldn't talk, no motion. It looked to me like she was having a stroke. So I ended up calling 911. They came. They thought she was having a stroke as well, and they picked her up to, you know, take her because we were upstairs. They had to take her downstairs, and this is. I laugh and smile at this because Mama was lethargic. She didn't know where she was, and she wouldn't talk to me or the emergency people. And as they were walking her out down the hallway, Gadget, my husband, said to me, "Kush call," which is my baby sister. And she just out of nowhere said, "What Kush say?"
Are you serious?
I swear. And I was like, "Mom," as they were taking her down the stairs. And so they ended up admitting her to the hospital. Like, it woke her up when we said her name. She was like, "What'd she say?" So she ended up admitted into Rockdale Hospital and didn't like it there. We didn't like it. They could not figure out what was going on with her. First, they thought the cancer moved to her brains because everybody's focus was cancer.
Everybody's focus was cancer.
So
nothing else but cancer.
Nothing else but cancer.
And so they're checking and testing, you know, looking for metastatic cancer everywhere, giving all these tests. And so they ended up saying she had sepsis and encephalopathy. And that they were admitting her and keeping her there and treating her for those things.
Wow.
And that was
so far from what was actually going on that it's utterly ridiculous. Because when we got there, I shared with the doctor that we did not trust her husband. You know what I'm saying? You need to check her for everything. And Karen was on the phone while I was in person. And we're telling him, like, run a whole...
Just do everything.
Do everything.
Test her for
everything. So when Kay went back to the My Chart, she saw everything.
They can
except for that.
They tested her
except for what it actually was.
So they didn't test her for that?
No,
they tested her for everything but HIV. Syphilis.
That is crazy.
Gonorrhea. HPV.
Yeah, poisons.
That was smart.
Yeah, because we told him we don't know if she poisoning. If he was poisoning her or what. Like, this is
any, you know. So, but they tested her for everything but HIV.
Wow. We're going to take a really quick break when we come back, because I really want to start there when we come back and just like really break down this next phase. Because the thing that seems most crazy to me is you guys went and got first opinions, second opinions, third opinions. You did everything you were supposed to do. And it just still seems like the medical team, or they just dropped the ball. To me, if you're going to do if I'm asking you for extensive testing, test me for everything.
But isn't this indicative of what Black women are experiencing with the healthcare system?
And it's just crazy. But we're going to take a really quick break, guys. Okay. We're going to be right back with Tammy Hammonds and Karen. I was going to say y'all name together, even though y'all sisters, but different names, last names. But Tammy Hammonds and Karen Young. We'll be right back, guys.
Like, how is this even our life?
Life these days
She's supposed to be here right now.
looks a lot like reminiscing for sisters Tammy Hammonds and Karen Young.
I like that one too.
In 2017, doctors first diagnosed their mom, Denise Brody, with breast cancer. She went into remission, but 2 years later, the cancer came back, this time attacking her lungs.
The decline was so rapid.
After years of on and off hospital extended stays and chemotherapy, the cancer had cleared. But Denise somehow was still sick. The family had new doctors run new tests again for everything. Karen recalls doctors determining her 65-year-old mom was dying, but not from a malignant mass.
Then they end up calling us, telling us that she's not going to beat this. You need to take her off the ventilator, and she's not going to make it because she has HIV, she has AIDS.
Denise died April 2nd, 2022, and based off her blood work,
She was in full-blown AIDS after having untreated, undiagnosed HIV for at least 5 years.
the person who gave it to her was not unknown. Criminal records allege it was her husband, Cleveland Brody.
Mr. Brody, you are charged at this time with the sole count of reckless conduct, HIV-infected person. It is a felony charge. Would you like the court to read your warrant aloud?
No, ma'am.
The warrants read, this was no accident, instead intentional. Detectives claim medical files reveal Brody knew of his status since 2006. The charging documents cite Brody did endanger by consciously disregarding a substantial and unjustifiable risk that his act or omission of not telling his wife his status resulted in her death.
We are back here on Style with Trish, exclusively sitting down with Karen Young and Tammy Hammonds. During the break, you mentioned something that I kind of want you to point out. You knew it was not, or it didn't feel like cancer. Why?
We do have a family history of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen people battle different types of cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and mostly breast cancer, which is the diagnosis that our mother got.
Mm-hmm.
So it just didn't give off all the things that would typically
Mm-hmm.
that came along with fighting cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't.
And
So-
Kay, you mentioned that she got tested for everything, but they didn't test her for HIV.
Mm.
So get us to that point where we find out that that is actually what it is. She was HIV positive, correct?
Well, so she was started out at Rockdale, where we asked them to test for everything. We didn't like the results we were getting from the staff there. So we fought to get her moved to Emory University.
Okay.
And it was a fight.
Yeah, because initially we thought it was neurological, and they
Okay.
didn't have a neuro team there.
Okay.
So
Right. Absolutely. Because she couldn't remember who we was.
Mm-hmm.
I have footage of her not knowing my name.
Mm-hmm.
They did diagnose her with CMV.
mhm.
What is that?
It's a virus that lays dormant in you, and it's caused by the chickenpox virus.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And
Shingles, all of that.
when,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, shingles is associated with it as well.
Okay.
So they did get some fluid from her spine at Rockdale and tested the fluid
Mm-hmm.
and found that she had CMV virus, which they said had traveled to her brain and caused the encephalopathy that she was experiencing.
Mhm.
And so they started her on a dose of it was almost like a
Antiviral, but almost like a chemo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which had the same results as any
Right.
other
Mhm.
chemo treatment. White blood counts drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you have to give her these shots to build a white blood count or stop the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the cycle we were going through with Rockdale. They were still trying to do the treat CMV
Mhm.
with the chemo, and
Mhm.
she was getting worse.
Mhm.
Okay.
She ended up with bed sores there because they
Wow.
weren't turning her and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we fought to get her moved because we were like, something else is going on in her brain. This
Mhm.
can't just be CMV,
Yeah.
encephalopathy.
Mhm.
So they did eventually move her to Emory University.
Okay.
In the beginning, They started her on the same path as Rockdale. It was a transfer. They wanted to test her brain. They went through the the neuro doctors and things.
And they did their own testing there.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. In the beginning, they just treated her based off of what they got from Rockdale. So they were giving her, she was seeing an infectious disease doctor at Rockdale. And then so when she went to Emory, she started to see an infectious disease doctor because CMV is an infectious disease like HIV.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So they assigned her an infectious disease doctor. Well, this doctor at Emory, I spoke with him and he told me that he didn't think this was CMV. He thought maybe it was something different. But they were going to continue on that path until they got all of her medical records from Rockdale Piedmont. And so that's what they did. They continued on that path. Well, she ended up catching COVID and
ended up on the ventilator.
Wow.
Yeah, they ended up putting her on a ventilator at Emory because she had pneumonia. So she really couldn't communicate with us at that point. And again, the infectious disease doctors at Emory didn't believe that it was CMV, that something else was causing what she was going through. And so they made the decision to test her for HIV.
Wow.
Because that was, he said, what else could it be in his mind? This is something different. Has anybody tested her for HIV? And he did. On March 28th,
Wow.
he tested her for HIV. Well, by this time, we had gotten a call that she had been on the ventilator for 15 days and they couldn't keep her on that ventilator any longer.
Palliative care was calling us in.
And we had to make a decision on whether or not to take her off life support or to trach her. And
there's no coming back from trach.
Yeah. That was what Tammy said.
Yeah. We knew Mom didn't want that either, And
she told us that.
She told us that she didn't want to be, a vegetable. And we had end of life type conversations before, when you're dealing with cancer and everything. You have to have those tough conversations and stuff. So we knew that traching her wasn't going to be an option. So after that, it was just a matter of coming to terms with her, what's going to happen when we take her off of the life support. Will she be able to breathe on her own? And so what they said to us was that they were just going to make her comfortable.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, because we were actually looking forward to taking her off the ventilator and having a conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. We felt that once we took off the ventilator, she could talk to us.
Right.
And, give us her wishes.
Was she conscious?
Yes.
While she was so she was conscious.
Yeah, she was conscious. She was conscious on the ventilator. So like Karen said, we had every hope, even though she was still dealing with the encephalophagy, once they did diagnose that it was HIV, we found out later that they had started to administer the treatment for HIV.
Okay.
So you could tell a difference. there. We still had to.
That is amazing.
I'm telling you. Yeah. So that he was correct. The doctor at Rockdale was correct in fact in what he said. When they start to treat whatever the virus was, that you would see them come back to themselves because in 2 days, like the actual day we got there on Karen's birthday to take her off the ventilator was the most alert we had seen her in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. When we walked into the hospital room to take her off of that ventilator, she was up, she was looking, looked like she was excited to see us.
Happy to see us.
She wanted to talk to us and we wanted to talk to her. But by this point, when they told us that we got the call that, she wasn't going to make it because she had full-blown AIDS. It was no longer HIV, that she was in full-blown AIDS and she wasn't going to survive it. But we still kept hope alive because God is the ultimate decision maker. So we still felt that we take off this ventilator, she's going to talk to us. She's going to keep breathing on her own and she'll be fine. But we know that wasn't the result. But even like Tammy said, on those HIV medications for 2 days, the 28th is the diagnosis. April 2nd is the day we took her off the ventilator. And she was alert.
She was very alert. I mean, when we told them that we wanted to talk to her, her nurse, I'll never forget Josiah. He said, I think maybe you should talk to the nurse practitioner. And they explained to us that you do know that when we take her off of this ventilator, that it's going to be like suffocation.
Really?
Yeah.
Because she couldn't breathe
on her own.
Wow.
But all we kept focusing on was how alert she was and how,
Yeah.
But Trish, when they took her off of that ventilator, the way she struggled to breathe and it was torture. It was absolute torture. I was like, just help her, make her comfortable. And, and I asked Josiah, how long could she last like this? He said, maybe an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's get into the meat of this, because this is, and I know you guys have gone through, because we're going to talk about the emotional side of this as well.
Yeah.
Because I know that is taxing and has been taxing. And a lot of us, especially me, my oldest sister's following this story like it's our story. I mean, she's just so engrossed in this story, and we're sitting on the outside looking in, angry. And I know you guys have gone through a wealth of emotion and all of that. Let's spend a little bit of time in the area of anger. When did y'all get mad, and what did y'all do in your anger? And I mean that as far as what propelled from that place of anger. I know with Kay, I guess I'll go to you, Kurt, because I know a lot of what you said, okay, this is what we're going to do next, came from a place of anger and hurt.
Yeah.
But mostly anger. Kind of
the anger came with the phone call from the infectious disease doctor to tell us that so Tammy had administrative medical rights over Ma, and so she got the call, got us all on conference call, and this doctor comes on and say, your mother's not going to make it because she has AIDS. She's in full-blown AIDS. And the anger came then. What do you mean she has AIDS? How did she get AIDS? Tammy said, how long has she had this? And he said, untreated, undiagnosed, looks like maybe about 5 years. And that's when the anger came. And we knew immediately it's her husband.
Yeah.
She has been married to this man for, at that time, 8 years. Never been with anybody else. She was faithful. Mama married her boyfriends, honey. This was her third marriage. She didn't date. She married you. Okay? And so we're like, oh, it's him, definitely. So it threw us in. We were angry. We were mad. We called. We text him. He wouldn't answer our calls. We text him and said, we know that you gave our mama AIDS and you killed her. You took her from her. We said all kind of choice words to him. And his reply to us was, I do not have HIV. And that's the anger.
And I remember in the conversation you and I were having, you were saying that the type that her case was the case, or it was on the level of where you would have to draw blood to be able to be tested. How I don't remember exactly how you phrased that, but it wasn't the normal test that had to take place with her.
Were you talking about the strand?
Yeah,
the strand.
So
that's what it was.
There's different strands of it. It mutates like COVID and most diseases. It mutated. And this man has been living with HIV since 2006.
That we know of.
It could have been longer. He came to Atlanta in 2004. He probably just started seeing a doctor and have record of it here in 2006. And so he's been off and on his medication. So the strand that he has is a mutated version of it. So when I look at her medical records, they gave different types of HIV testing. I'm not medically inclined, so I don't know what was the difference. I just know that the test said HIV this, HIV that, and some of those said negative, and then some of those said positive. So I don't know, how they performed the test to determine which strand it was. But he went to CVS and got a test, or Walmart. He sent us test results. So he went to Walmart and got a test. See, I don't have HIV. His test was negative. But if you're on your medication, you're undetected. So of course, your test is gonna.
And they also said that you need to have blood tests. Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, you can't go get an over-the-counter test. And when
the doctor said that. And when they finally contacted him to let him know that she had AIDS.
And so that's a lesson right there. I just want to pause right there for anyone who's listening and someone is texting you or showing you test results of any kind of
store-bought
results from any kind of STD. That's what I'm looking for. STDs. They need to be going, I don't care who you are. You need to be going to a doctor. So showing a negative test result from a box you bought at Walmart, Walgreens, wherever, that's not suitable. No, sir, you need to go and show me blood work. Show me what the doctor gonna give you.
Absolutely.
Versus believing that, because we know now that he's fooled a lot of people. So let's talk a little bit about the legal journey that you guys have been on, because part of that anger led you to, hey, we pressing charges. We're not going to just be mad, because I think that anger is healthy areas for anger being channeled, and I think you guys did it in the most legal way possible, because I'm sure there were thoughts of taking this dude out. But you didn't go that route. You decided to go through the legal system. So share with us how that journey has also been a headache up until here recently.
Yeah.
Ooh, well.
Ooh. I don't even know where to start when it comes to, the justice system and the process of filing charges against him. We knew that it was against the law. You know what I'm saying? You know that this is against the law. So after we handled all important business, like laying our mother to rest and all of that stuff, and Karen said, we're pressing charges. I said, definitely. And so she took steps to go ahead and collect everything we could get.
You needed.
Yeah, to try to get the sheriff's department behind us on arresting him. And that process was so grueling. And just
yeah, it was a big headache because you have to give probable cause for things like that. You can't just accuse somebody of having AIDS or HIV and spreading it, even though our mother's death certificate said AIDS.
Wow.
The police department, of course, took my report and they gave me the code that he violated and told me it was against the law if he didn't tell her that he had HIV. But their thing was, how are we going to prove this? You know, how we know she didn't give it to him? How do we know he didn't tell her he had it? And our thing was, well, why would she treat cancer and not AIDS?
And not treat AIDS.
She's going to allow him to take his medication and she's not going to take hers. You know, why would she do that? She had every reason to live. She had a trip to Paris planned that year. Italy. Paid for. She had, long-term life goals. She have grandchildren she want to see graduate this year. And so it was a battle convincing law enforcement to take us serious and press charges and get this man off the streets. Tammy literally called every day, every week.
Wow.
Well, sometimes daily. Sometimes daily, but definitely called every week. Where are you now? What are you doing now? And repeating myself for almost a year. With them saying, how are you going to prove it? Pull her medical records. You're going to see that she had no idea that she had HIV. There's no way in this world. So we ended up hiring our own private investigator to try to help us to put this case together, to help the sheriff's department to get an arrest. So, I mean, we're doing our dead level best as citizens, as lay people to try to assist the county, and still coming up nada. Our investigator took statements from almost 50 people that knew her, dentists, like everybody who went on record saying there's no way in the world that she knew this and wouldn't have shared that with us, her practitioners, or us, her friends, or,
her children.
Her children.
Yeah.
Like we stated in the beginning of this conversation, our mother was very candid with us, very open with us about everything.
Absolutely. And this may be TMI, but me and my mama shared bras. Like I ain't never bought a bra before in my life.
She
until my mama died. because she bought expensive bras.
Yeah.
And she only wore them for so long, and then she'd be like, "Girl, come get these bras."
Yeah.
Man, I'd be right there to go
honey.
get them, honey. So we were very close, and
Yes.
we talked about sex,
Right.
I'm her
with our husbands.
hairstylist.
Yeah.
Yes.
I arch her eyebrows.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
use a straight razor.
Yeah.
Because mama like hers real thin and tight and not, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There's no way in
She
the
would
world
expose you.
she
No.
would have ever put me in any
Yeah.
kind of any of us.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody in her life. That just wasn't who she was as a person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just wasn't.
Yeah.
And so Robin Martinelli, our investigator,
Shout out to Robin.
she did an awesome job.
She got in this thing with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She stayed in the battle. She, helped us gather information to try to. She set up a meeting with the Rockdale County Sheriff
Oh,
Department.
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. The sheriff,
Mm-hmm.
some captains,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the investigator
Mhm.
Levitz that was on our case, and Tammy, my uncle, like a bunch of family members, and they came up with the plan of action
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
going forward on how they would
Approach it.
move. Yeah.
Mhm. So how did this Joker finally get locked up? I mean, because he's locked up now, but how did we get to that point?
Well, go ahead. I would attribute it to Sierra.
I would
Cummings.
too. I would
Okay.
definitely attribute it to Sierra Cummings. If it wasn't for her,
Who is Sierra Cummings? For those who don't know.
Yeah, she's an investigative reporter at Atlanta First.
Atlanta News First.
Atlanta News First.
The
Channel 46.
Okay.
Mhm. So I was feeling really, really, really like, I kept having like these, for my spiritual people out there, I kept having these mama encounters. You know what I'm saying? I would pass cars just like her car.
Yeah.
Like I kept getting all these signs and things that were like nudging at my spirit.
Mhm.
And I called Kay out of frustration
Mhm.
because, like if I'm Buddha, then she
Absolutely.
look, if I'm a gun, she the bullet.
You know it.
So I called Kay and I was like, I'm sick of them. I'm sick of this. I'm calling back up to that sheriff's department and they gonna blah, blah, blah. And so we had already been reaching out to media.
Okay.
And then when I called Kay out of frustration and she said, you know what? I'm just gonna send this to every investigative reporter in the city and see what happens.
Wow.
And Sierra just happened to take heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She happened to take heart and reached out to Karen.
Mhm.
And if it wasn't for her calling up there inquiring
Mhm.
about what was going on with this case and, where are you guys with this? Oh my God, this is a public service, news story.
Mhm.
So Sierra is definitely, in our minds, the person who really got this ball rolling to justice. And
Yeah.
of course, he was arrested on July 10th
Mhm.
at his place of employment.
Mhm.
And the investigator called and gave us the good news.
Also, the investigator had to tell you, not the police.
Well,
Yeah.
The investigator from the police.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought-
department.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
thinking
no,
the
not the PI.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
the detective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the detective called
Mhm.
with the good news that he had been arrested.
Mhm.
Glory to
Yeah.
God.
Yes, amen. Want to do it.
I'm telling you. And so all of that has been, thank God for her. And I think you said that she had something about the story related to her and her
Yes.
family. And so that was what helped thrust. I mean, that was help ignited it for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be able, and I think it's crazy. I think it's God sent that he strategically placed people in this story as an aid, as whatever, to help get the story out. But I also think it's very sad that you guys had to go through all of that just to get the story heard. Thankful that it is heard, but just sad that Kay is she's like the bulldog, like you said. She's gonna run. But what if you don't have that person in your family? You go.
Yeah, I mean, it's who our mother made us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We all three have it.
Yeah.
We all three have it, but it's degrees to it.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, where I don't have it, she has it. Where she don't have it, I have it. Where we don't have it, our little sister, you know, she does what she can, but she's the baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm the baby.
Yeah,
I know.
she's the baby in the family. So, you know, it's how we were raised.
Yeah.
We were never not gonna pursue this.
Yeah.
We were never not gonna see this to the end. We were never, and this is what we shared with the Rockdale Sheriff's Department. I told him we're not going away. We're not going away. If you think you're going to brush this to the side and we're going to forget all about it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So this is who we were raised to be. Like we're fighters. We're warriors. You know what I'm saying? And we don't just do it for our family. We knew that telling our story was going to help other people as well. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
it's amazing story. It's heartfelt. At the same time, I see the work that you guys are doing, and it's a constant. I know it's plenty of sleepless nights, even still up until today. How have you been able to? How is your emotional state? How is your mental state? How are you taking care of you? How are you all taking care of yourself during the interim of all of this that's going on? What are you doing for you?
Well, I do have the gift of exhortation, encouragement. So I try to send my sisters positive messages. I pray for us. I'm in therapy. I encourage that they go to therapy like you and I discussed before. We need God and a therapist.
And a therapist.
So it's been, you know, I'm a person who, I'm not a stranger to grief and the things that happen to us in this life that supposed to draw us closer to, you know, our Father in heaven, and what that looks like for everybody is going to be something different.
So different.
So I already know in the morning, when I wake up, just on GP, on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm going to probably be about a 5 or a 6.
Okay.
So when I get up, I do the things that are going to help bring me higher.
Okay.
So that I can last, so that I can make it through a day. And so I try to do that for other people. So encouraging myself and encouraging my sisters and other people help keep me encouraged, and it helps keep me sane. You know, that there is going to be something better after this. There is going to be celebration after this. There is going to be greater after this. So I just keep telling myself, after this.
After this. But that's your hope. That's where your hope lies.
Yes, that's that hope, and that's that faith.
Yeah. And Kay, where would you like to see? Ultimately, we know he needs to bust not just the jail walls, but hell wide open. But what would you like to see? Because actually, just kind of break down where we are in the judicial system, where he's concerned, and then where would you like? What would you like to see happen? Not just in this case, but in other cases or other families that this similar things have happened or occurred.
At this point, he has, we had a last bond hearing, and they gave him a $1.5 million bond, which was awesome. It could have been more in my eyes, but the judge did do that. And I just want to see him pay for what he's done to not only our mother, but the other victims who have come forward and been in contact with this man. And we pray that the victims who haven't come forward have the strength to speak up and get justice on their behalf. Because I know that my mother is not the only person. She wasn't the first. If they don't keep him in jail, if he don't serve time, she won't be the last. He's a predator. He's a narcissist, and he belongs behind bars. And you know, I just pray and hope that's where he remains.
Yeah, it's regardless. It's a special kind of evil to me when you sit and watch individuals suffer, and you know, good chance that the reason why they're suffering is something that you've done.
Right.
And so I do believe in, you know, reconciliation with God or what, you know, whatever it is. I believe that for all people, but I'm struggling with this one. But I do pray he meets just what, you know, is his intent to meet. So either of you or both of you can share just some encouraging words and just stay in the course. Like Tammy, you said you start out on a 5. You know you start at a 5. You build yourself up. And then Kay, how do you put your thoughts, your emotions, into pavement, into actual physical work. A lot of times especially we as a people, we get so emotionally caught up, then we don't have any fight left. But we have to leave space for that fight. But Tammy, how can you encourage anyone who's going through similar situation, how to maintain? And then Kay, I'll end out with you on the importance of putting your feet to the ground, to the pavement, and getting the work done.
Just as I stated earlier, what I do for my personal devotion in the morning and stuff is prayer time, meditation, worship. All of those things serve to bring you outside of yourself, focusing on something higher than yourself, which for me lifts my spirits. So I would encourage anybody to, plug into your faith, to get therapy, have people to talk to, community, get busy. As you stated before, like me with Kay, jumping into action for her really helped her a lot.
It's her therapy.
Yeah, it's her therapy. You know what I'm saying? So taking some sort of action is going to help you, whether it's spiritual, whether it's putting your feet to the pavement, like you said, Kay does, just doing something other than just succumbing to it. You know what I'm saying? Don't succumb to anything that's come to bring you down, but rather try to do the things that'll raise you up above your circumstances and your situation.
Yeah. And I totally agree with everything Tammy said. I'm spiritual, but not as spiritual as my sister is. She's the angel on my shoulder. But I, like you said, I jump into action. I'm writing a book. I'm putting my mama's story into words. Whoever want to talk to us, they can talk. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm sharing the story. I want people to know. I want people to be aware. I'm telling them, if you have cancer, make sure your oncologist is checking you for HIV. It might not be cancer. Just encouraging women to look out for themselves. And even though we're married and we're trusting, because me, myself, I couldn't remember the last time I had an HIV test. Didn't have one until my mother passed. And it took me a minute to do that because I was afraid of what it would say because I had treated her and taken care of her. So I just say, get tested, trust your instincts and keep fighting
and just get busy. And we talk, this is a whole different topic, but just to tap in on this just a little bit, because we're going to be covering this topic more here on the show. One of the things that I loved you say on social media is the importance of knowing and having an estate attorney, because even going through all of that you've gone through, there are still issues going on with the estate and all of it. It's just it's a whole beast. It's a whole beast.
Absolutely. It's so many layers to this story. But there's so much power in telling your story.
Yes, it is.
So that's where I really commend Kay with her TikTok and all of that stuff, how she's really like taking on the story, and it's healing. It's a healing balm to even be able to share your story. And I just want to thank you for inviting us and sitting us down and having us to recount our mother's beautiful life, and also, the portion of her life that serves to help other people.
Right.
Although she's not with us. So it's so important to tell your story and to share your story, and so much power in it. So I thank you for allowing us to come.
Absolutely. You knew this was going to happen. But it's so funny because I wanted to spend more time on who she was and her life, because this part does not have an ounce of who she was in her whole entire life.
And we don't want to lose that
part.
Because this part is so all-encompassing because of the justice piece, the medical, like the everything of it, right? I don't want to, that's been one of the things I've said most, that I don't want to lose who she was in the midst of this fight. You know what I'm saying? Because she was that girl. She was that girl for so many of us, and especially the three of us. So sitting down and just talking about mama is just
wonderful.
And we do that.
We do it.
Family time with the kids.
Because she was a cool grandma. She just was so full of personality. And so I wanted to just do my little part. I was blessed and graced. Anyone who had the opportunity to just cross paths with her, small conversations with her. It was a blessing. It was a blessing to all of us. So I find it a blessing to be able to help spread who she was and her story. And y'all know I'm here for you whenever, however, in any capacity. I'm here for you and I have your support. But is there any lasting words you want anyone to connect with you on social media? Is there call to actions? Is there anything that we can do as a community to help this particular case? If not this case, just the whole education part of HIV, AIDS, whatever it is. Give us a call to action. What do y'all need from us? What do we need to do for you?
Well, we really haven't even thought that far, Trish.
Yeah, we haven't. We in the trenches.
This battle is new for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know where to start. I mean, where to
start
to call people to action too.
And,
you know what I'm saying?
We're looking for suggestions on, how we can help. We'll help how we can help.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, we're still fighting for our mother because this man still has opportunity to walk these streets. Rockdale still hasn't indicted him. It's a small county, and I don't think the funds are where the funds should be. And, we're still...
They've never seen or had anything like this to happen to the county other than that outbreak, which we tried to warn them that, if you let him out, you could have another outbreak. But I guess if there was a call to action or should be a call to action, I would say reach out to the sheriff's department about, when is there going to be an indictment or,
that's the DA's office.
The DA's office.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
a push or a shove to the legal
to keep
people.
this at the forefront of their mind. I know the court system is tied up and stuff like that, but we don't want to get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
Because you see that happen so much. Unless you keep talking about it, you keep it in the front. That's the only way. That's the only way they pay attention.
Okay.
Otherwise, it gets shoved to the side. But if it's important to the people, if it's important to the community, then we've seen that they will move.
We get more action.
We get
so backing
more results.
You guys in that aspect.
Just backing us with the DA's department on, where's the case? Are you actually going to charge him with murder? And you know what I'm saying? So,
okay. So that we can do that. Put up a number where people can call, and if you want to just support in that way, or you can follow Karen Young on TikTok, and
Instagram,
is that your ad?
Facebook, Instagram, everything is Karen Young.
Karen Young, and it's spelled the traditional way, Karen Young, traditional way, and follow her, and so you can follow the story. I also, whenever you post, I try to share on my platform as well. But thank you guys for coming and sharing your story. This is only beginning. You have my prayers, my support. Love you guys so much.
Thank you, sweetie. I love you.
Yeah, keep
so
pressing
much.
on and keep doing what y'all doing. You're a testament to so many people. Guys, we will be right back.
Once a suspect is charged, the court has 90 days to bring an official indictment. If they don't, that defendant is eligible for bond, but the judge doesn't have to make the bond affordable. That's what happened here in Cleveland Brody's case. Bond set for $1.5 million today, or $500,000 for each charge.
She did die as a result of contracting HIV from this.
Right now, Brody faces 3 counts of reckless conduct after investigators allege he knew he was HIV positive, but he had unprotected sex with at least 3 women. One was his own wife, Denise Brody. Denise died April 2022 after doctors say she had undiagnosed and untreated HIV for 5 years.
That his status was made clear to...
While the defense argued the suspect has been wrongfully accused, that all his partners knew his status, the Rockdale County District Attorney's Office maintained he intentionally withheld his 2006 diagnosis from the women. The Rockdale County Sheriff's Office even saying there may be other victims.
For the court to allow him to go back into the county thinking that he would do the right thing would be a total injustice to people in the county of Rockdale.
This all comes after Cleveland Brody was previously denied bond twice this summer. The required bond ruling today disappoints Denise's family.
It just feels like at every turn, the justice system feels like it's on his side. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get the cemetery and he gets bond and everything else.
There's no way my mother would have known this man's status and not protected herself and not gotten treatment if she knew that she was infected by that, and those other victims as well. They went in blind just like my mom did.
If Brody does post bond, he has to wear an ankle monitor and abide by a curfew. In Conyers, I'm Sierra Cummings, Atlanta News First.
Hey guys, I would like to thank you for hanging out with us today on Style with Trish exclusive interview with my friends Tammy Hammond and Karen Young. I just wanted to share a few facts at the end of this broadcast because it's so important to know the facts and know the numbers, and even with time we have kind of lost the importance of taking care and being tested, not just for certain STDs, but all STDs, especially HIV, which leads to AIDS, as we know. This is the Georgia statistic, or the Georgia numbers. Georgia has 52,528 people living with HIV. We are the 5th highest in the country for this disease. The majority of those infected with the virus here in Georgia, are among Black African American women, which totals 35,974. Imagine that. In Georgia, the total cases is 52,528. And we, Black women, we represent 35,974 of that number. That is a high, extremely high rate. We have got to take care of ourselves, take care of our bodies, take care of our children, make sure our children, our girls, our boys are being tested for not just this disease, but other diseases as well, but especially this one. This one can kill you. Denise went 5 years unmedicated, which threw her into full-blown AIDS. If she had known, she would have protected herself and protected her family. Another thing that I wanted to bring to realization, only in 2018, as of 2018, 26 states have HIV-specific laws that criminalize behaviors that can potentially expose another person to HIV. Just in 2018. We are so far behind, guys. Make sure you go and take care of yourself. Get tested. Don't be ashamed. If you need help, reach out. There are agencies that are available to you. Please do so. If you have any questions or concerns regarding this case, be sure to go to stylewithtrish@gmail.com or reach out to us on any social media platform. We'll be glad to share their story, their status, whatever it is that you will. If you want to be a help, if you want to be a support, or send encouraging words, reach out to us and we will forward your information to them. Thank you guys for hanging out on this very serious, very important episode of Style with Trish exclusive. Thank you guys. And as always, love isn't love unless you give it away.